Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to the Aurum podcast, where we discuss all matters that relate to HR and essentially building winning teams. I'm your host, Anthony Kuria, and I'm so glad that you could join us. The Aurum podcast is hosted by Aurum Consultants, and Aurum Consultants is a HR, human resource, and risk advisory company where we deal with all matters that relate to HR in the workplace, issues ranging from an employer and employee perspective. We also deal with risk issues that relate to the workplace. And we are so glad that you could join us. Today, I have uh, a panel of, let me call them experts,
Mm,
specialists, who are here to help us deconstruct the topic that you began speaking last week, the topic of employee experience from its various facets. First and foremost, I have my co-host and our in-house HR consultant, Zipporah Kuria. Zipi, karibu sana.
Thank you, Anthony. Good morning, viewers.
Yes, and next we have our the consultant's consultant. We like calling her that way. Martha Thuku is a HR specialist, and she's joining us today. She helps us deconstruct HR matters brilliantly. Welcome, Martha.
Thanks, Anthony, and good morning, viewers.
mm,
Yes, and finally, we have brought in a business executive, somebody in the risk management sector, in the insurance sector, a senior executive in the insurance sector, and my good friend, Mr. Augustus Kioko. Augustus, karibu sana.
Good morning, and thank you, Tony, for welcome. And yes, okay.
Thank you, Augustus. Indeed, we are so glad that you could join us today. You know,
Yes.
as we spoke last week, if you remember, those who joined us, we said that the month of March we'll be discussing employee experience and the
Mm,
things that go around employee experience. If you've ever been employed, either formally or informally, you know you are getting into that company. You're fresh, you're new, you've entered
mm,
as a
mm,
business, as an individual, as an employer. There is a
mm,
if you deliberately follow up this process well, you can either you know get the best of your employee by your
mm,
new employee by onboarding them well, by bringing them well, hiring them in the right manner, or you can lose yourself from the very beginning. I remember, one of the things we are often told is that the first impression is the best impression. That
mm,
if you don't make, and as an employer, you also need to make a good impression in order to retain the talent that you have. And as we see
mm,
today, we want to discuss employee experience from an onboarding perspective.
mm,
And as you know, onboarding entails uh, acquainting new employees with your company's culture and requirements. Now, making this process pleasurable will lay down the foundation for a happy, engaged, and productive workforce.
mm.
Now that I've laid the preamble, let's discuss onboarding,
Yes.
nicely. Yeah.
Mm,
So let me first ask the experts in HR. I'll start with Zippy. Uh, Zippy, uh, what is what can we say? What is onboarding? What can we describe as onboarding? Start us from there, so that a layman who is listening may understand what we are talking about. Whether we are talking about climbing a plane, or is it about climbing a company?
mm,
Thank you, Anthony. Like you said, this is a month where we are talking about employee experience. And we are looking at making sure we give our employees a good experience in their journey working for our organizations. And
mm,
onboarding is a process that begins when we start bringing in a new hire to the organization. You've gone through the process of recruitment, you have advertised, you have done your interviews, you have come down to the candidates you would want them to work for you. And I think this is where we start now the process of onboarding. And this is basically how we integrate a new hire into the organization, how we help them settle in the organization, how we help them understand, where do they fit into the equation. They've come
Yes.
into this organization, where do we start? And basically it's that process that helps the employee settle in and understand different things that happen in the organization, different activities, like for instance, the culture, the organization structure. It helps them understand, how are things done here,
Mm.
how are people like here, understanding the basic structures of that organization. So I would say it's a process that helps an employee settle in.
Okay. Martha, what's your take? What's your version? How do you look at it?
So I totally agree with Zippy. It's the process of integrating a new employee into your organization. So these are the activities you actively plan or you do that makes or allows the employee to feel at home and to fit in. Uh, what I can add is that this process it starts with, it's a 4-stage process actually. Because then now, like last week, we learned about recruitment. Now we have recruited.
Yes.
Now we have our best candidate. So it's that process of onboarding starts with the offer. So as soon as the new employee has signed in an offer, then the onboarding process has started. And as soon as that acceptance comes, then there are those other things that happens. Then there is a contracting, and you have to time yourself in those and see, because you want to finish that recruitment very fast. So once the contracting, you have agreed on the reporting date. So the next stage is the preparation for the reporting. So the next stage is the welcoming that person, maybe by an email, a week maybe prior to their reporting date. So the next stage is so I said 4 stages. There's signing of offer, then there's a welcome, then now there's a day the person reports. And then, and you can imagine most organizations under normal circumstances would have that person report to the HR department, and they do go through various things. Some organizations are busy, they let the employee go to the office to start the work. They call it hit the ground running, but really it's important for people to know that this process is important. The employee needs to go through that 4 stages, because the 4th stage should now be the role specific after all these other stages. Yeah, that's how I can call it.
Wow, wow. Thank you, Martha. Both you and Zippy have given us a very clear HR perspective of how it goes. Augustus, you are in the corporate sector. We have heard what HR has said. You are the man on the ground. You are the executive. Somebody has come in.
Yes.
Either you requested for somebody, you participated in the recruitment process. You either did or you didn't. But now they have come in from an executive's position. How does it go for onboarding?
Yeah. Thank you. And I think the HR experts in the house have laid it, bare. I cannot add to what they have said, but from, on the ground experience, what happens is, I know, first and foremost, let me say, it's just onboarding for me is just basic as, going to the stage and you want to go to town and the matatu comes, or you want to fly out and you have to go through the process of even, getting to the flight. There are those pre-boarding, what Mother is talking about, all those activities. So It's just not one thing. I know the organization sometimes because of pressure, sometimes of like mothers alluded, when positions become vacant as us as a user department, sometimes we want the HR to hire, an employee, as fast as today, and we need them to come in. We need them to come and hit ground running, because sometimes some of these vacancies, they have to be filled very fast. Someone left in a half, the previous employee and all that. So some of these, they are asked to be preparation. Even the department has to prepare to wait for the new candidate, because they know so and so is coming. They are actually the ones who raised the requisition, for either a replacement or a new staff. So they know when the staff is coming. Maybe I was involved in the interview at my level and all that, so I know the candidate is coming. So even as an organization, even as a department, where I sit, we have to prepare. There are things we prepare. Where is he? Where are they going to come to sit? Where is their seat? How are they going to sit? Which, all those arrangements. Who is their supervisor? How are they going to interact on a day-to-day basis? Where is as basic as, where are even the bathrooms? I think those are things that assumed people just come in and they are let alone to be asking around, where is the kitchen? Where is the printer? Where is the manager's office? All these things. And I had an experience where an employee joined, and after 2 weeks they left. She left, and later on we engaged, and I was asking her why did she leave. Of course, she had gotten another job, but she told me when she stepped into that apartment, she saw old people who are rigid, people who are uncooperative, people who cannot, and of course, if it's not handled, that process smoothly, and the new employee is inducted into what he's supposed to do and to the organization, if the leadership does not do that, the people on the ground will do it, and they will do it in a funny way. There are people, the fellow staff, the colleagues have realized they can do it, and they can orient and tell you, hey, we're boss, that guy is bad, that one is good. That kind of orientation. So the leadership in the department must also do their part, must also be prepared for the new staff. That is part of also onboarding, not just because you report today and you are thrown into the deep end. That can also impact your stay there. That can impact the outlook of the organization.
Wow.
Yes.
Augustus, I love your practical look at really what happens in the workplace. There is what
Yes.
we can talk nice, flowery, you will come, you will
Yes.
introduce. But in the reality, as you've described, a department, a company needs a replacement like now. And you need that person immediately. And that person is gotten very quickly. There was shortlisting, HR had their staff. Then the person walks in. And, in this podcast, we talk a lot about company culture. And you've alluded something very powerful there about company culture. Because the HR or the HR lead, the one who has brought the person in, or the section head, the CEO, whoever it is that is leading the company, can't be there everywhere leading this new entrant, onboarding. And therefore, it brings to mind the issue of company culture, that if it is inculcated well, that the rank and file within the company, even after the formal process is done, the rank and file, the people who are operating here, can be a culture to be able to welcome a new person in a nice way, in a manner that enables them to fit, I like the fact that you have described.
Yes.
Yeah, because we all have gone through it. You go into a new company, you are there. Remember, boss, that lift is for the CEO. Never use that lift. You're told, things that you're thinking. Okay, all right. The way you've described, that boss, be careful. At a certain time of the day, they are normally not in a very good mood. You know,
Yes.
things that it's part of onboarding, and you're wondering, okay, where did I come to? So, and that brings us now to the
Mm.
second part.
And
The
Anthony,
thing,
before you go to the second part,
yes,
just something I've picked from Augustus, and it's
yes,
funny, the way he has put it. When
yes.
we don't do a proper orientation for employees, the
Mm,
co-workers will actually orient that employee. And
exactly.
the
Yes.
comes, how do they get oriented? And
Mm-hmm.
when I'm thinking about this, it's important for us to ensure we have a quality onboarding plan, a quality onboarding process. Because if that
Mm,
doesn't happen, like he's saying, the employee is boarded not in the right way. And
yes,
remember, we are talking about the experiences we are giving the new hire. We are talking
exactly.
about perceptions this employee is going to form. We are talking
Mm,
about culture. Maybe you're working towards changing your culture, and sometimes
mm,
changing culture with people who have been within the organization is not easy. So you're trying to
yeah.
bring in probably a new person, another new person, and you're hoping as you go along, you'll also change the culture. And I've seen this
Mm,
even from experience. And you find because the orientation or the onboarding has not been done properly, this employee gets oriented by their fellow co-workers, by the junior employees. They will walk
mm,
around, confused and asking anyone who cares to help them questions, and they will be given an answer. The question is whether it's going to be the right answer to their question. I
yeah.
think we need to be very clear,
Mm.
when we are onboarding our staff, and especially from the HR department, we need to be very clear who should be involved in the process. How should they
Mm,
be involved in the process? HR plays a very critical role, but not just HR. I also think the management or the executive team also plays a very important role. I've seen situations where, the whole responsibility lies on HR and executive removes themselves from it. And like we always say, the fish does rot from the head. So
from
if
the
the top executive also doesn't get involved in helping in forming the culture or onboarding and orienting new employees, then really this employee might never fully cut the mission. Um,
Mm.
so it's
Mm.
important for us to have that in mind. The other thing, of course, is the supervisor and the co-workers you want to bring into the whole process, and make sure the information given to this employee is the information that is right, is the information that the employee should get, but it's not the nuances, it's not the internal politics that would actually
yes.
end up affecting the stay at the organization. It's very sad
Mm.
what Augustus has said, an employee came and after 2 weeks left,
Mm.
and it makes you start questioning what is it that we did not do right in the hiring process.
Mm,
And it's
correct.
probably not even the hiring process, it's probably the culture. They came in and they realized, I don't fit in here. Just
Mm,
because of
Mm.
the people and because the way of people interacting, and also, the way she was getting onboarded into the system.
Mm.
thank you. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you
and
for
maybe I
sharing
can add ZP. That is so sad there. And it's because you'll find most organizations don't take this seriously. So and Tony, you have said, well, culture dictates how things happen in that organization. Even if you
that.
are a
Mm.
very good HR and you have all these good ideas, if you go
Yes.
and find a culture that is won't embrace what you think
Mm.
is the best practice, then you
Yes.
find things that are done haphazardly. I worked
Mm,
in an organization when I joined, and I was fired up and I was happy. And someone just came because I didn't have that orientation. But here usikuwe na maspidi huku.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
just now. It's just now you are fired. Within that, we'll see after 2 weeks what will happen. And that was really traumatizing because I'm thinking, I'm here, we work. Then I went to
yes.
an organization where, and this is where I learned best practice for onboarding.
Mm,
Because then when the organization is embracing this thing, then when you're doing the HR strategy, one of
yes.
the things you include is a checklist of the things that you will do when you're
Mm.
onboarding someone.
Aha. Yes.
Mm.
So it's not something you're planning when the person is learning.
He's
So
right
it
there.
is in the HR strategy
Yes.
Mm.
that for onboarding, this is what we will do for all staff, not some.
Yes. Yes.
Some organizations or people have it so good, others are just told, come, please, you came to work. Can you start work? And,
Yes.
and you know what
Mm.
people forget, uh, ZP, is you could be very good in, let's say, in HR, but should you join a new organization, you really have to study. You have to be shown how things are done in that organization.
True.
Mm.
So you can't be told, okay, there is your seat. You are qualified, you came to work. You need that orientation.
Mm.
That
And
is true.
so if an organization is active on orientation, you have that checklist. You
Mm-hmm.
ensure that your HR team is ticking the dots.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
in that checklist, one of the things that needs to be there, among other things, is a buddy. When
Mm-hmm.
it is now the orientation has reached the fourth stage, where now this employee needs to go to be oriented at the job itself in the
Yes.
office where they'll be working. You actively assign a buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So that buddy will handhold that person. They are the ones who will orient that person on the work. First of all, introduce them to the people and then handhold them. They will take them for lunch. They will show them these are the areas we eat here. Um, and every day, they are the ones who are giving an account to the manager of this
Yes.
Mm.
person, that this is where we have reached.
Yes.
Because then,
Mm.
if you don't have a buddy, you will be like me, who has all these people coming telling me, hmm? And like our positions are very sensitive. There's
Yes.
one who is coming to tell me who are the bad people in this organization.
Oh my.
Mm.
That's my orientation, yeah. There is
Yes.
one who is
Mm.
coming to tell me them they are the ones who have been holding this organization.
Yes.
So you find if you don't actively plan for orientation, these are the things that happen. You are told about the bosses. You are told how so many things that you shouldn't know, and
Yes.
especially not your first one
Mm.
week, please. Mm? Because
Mm.
then you will think, hey, do I still want to work here? And
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm.
if you get another offer, you quickly exit. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Mm.
what I wanted to add.
Wow,
Mm.
wow, wow. To our viewers and our listeners, if you'd like to send in your views, you have a question that you'd like to ask, you're welcome to do so. We are live on Facebook uh, and even on YouTube. Kindly send in your comments, your questions, your views on this very interesting, very practical topic that we are discussing in today. And Martha, you've actually, it's like you read my mind. I was about to say the next step that I wanted to think about. Then, what are the best practices of
Uh-huh.
onboarding?
Mm.
You talked
Mm.
about having a buddy system. Zippy, before I go to Augustus from the practical perspective, Zippy, what's the other? Do you have any other ideas on the best practices of onboarding?
Thank you, Anthony. And Mother has touched a bit on that. And one of the things I think we need to start asking ourselves is how do we standardize our onboarding process? How do we make sure the experience is the same for everyone who comes to the organization? I've seen scenarios where an executive is given a very good orientation, thorough orientation.
Mm,
Someone who will come at the middle level management or the lower cadre, they are not given the same experience, you know.
mm,
And the question is, do we want to run our organizations in a way that, we have standards across board? The experience
mhm,
a person on the ground received is the same experience someone coming on top will say, I received. And there's equality, so to speak. We are
mm.
treating because they are employees. The only
Sure.
difference is they are coming at different levels. But everyone has a very major role to play in terms of helping the organization achieve its mission and vision and objectives. So we need
Mm,
to make sure, number one, we standardize. Okay.
okay.
Mm.
We have one of our clients, and we are doing this very well, and I'm really happy about how we are doing. We've gotten to the place of moving to digital and having to start digitizing onboarding and helping make sure every employee who works into that organization, the first information they get is the same across board. Um,
Yes.
the other thing we need to think about, which is a best practice, is communication. And Mother talked about this. From the time when we've given this employee an offer and they have agreed to it, how then do we move on in terms of communication? They have probably not even come to or reported on their first day. Do they
Yes.
know how they can reach you, for example? Do they, have all the information they need to prepare them for their first day at work? How do
Yes.
we communicate to all the other stakeholders who are involved in the whole process? Mr. Kioka has talked about, making sure the departmental level, they have chairs, they have a working station. I've seen
Yes.
again first-hand experience where, we've taken a whole month to do a recruitment process, and we don't get ready, and the employee shows up on their first day. They don't have a working station, they don't have a computer or the tools they need to work with, and the employee is actually floating and lost for a while. And you can imagine what
Mm.
kind of an experience that gives this
Yes.
employee, you
Yeah.
know. And these are the things that will make someone actually quit on their first week, because they're thinking, you guys are so disorganized. The last
Mm.
time when we were talking about recruitment and interviews, we talked about, how not to keep candidates waiting for too long when they come for interviews. Remember, we are
Yes.
an experience. They are also weighing us out to see what kind of an organization, what kind of an environment is this that I'm coming into. So
Mm.
communication is so critical to all the stakeholders, the IT people. Do we need to create an email for this person? Do we need to create logins for this person? How do we prepare the
Yes.
other departments to be
Mhm.
ready for this employee? Because remember, this employee will come, you'll hand them over to the different people who need to work with them. So if they're not ready, guess what will happen? Confusion. Then wrong information is given. Then we end up giving the wrong experiences. The other thing that we need to also look at is, this employee is coming, to work. Mother has talked about her buddy who is going to work with them. When it comes to the executive, how do we bring them to introduce them to the executive? At what point do they sit with
Mm.
the MD or the CEO? Do they get to get the feel of how it feels, to speak to the top executive? Probably when
Yeah.
they were going through the interview process, they never met any of these people. And the truth is, if they don't get to meet these people during orientation, chances are they will be seeing them now call. They won't be, having an
Yeah.
opportunity to interact with them. And what happens? We create a wall between the top management and the employees. So there's always that big gap that we are saying we want to bridge. But how do we bridge it if during onboarding we also don't make it easy for the employees to realize they can be able to engage the top management, and this is how they can engage them. So I think these are some of the things that we need to do as part of best practices, and I'm sure my colleagues here have more information based on experiences as well.
All
Yes.
right.
Yeah, and
Yes.
Zippy, I wanted to pick when you were saying the things that needs to be done. So one of the other best practice to do, and I do this I do myself, is, so we agreed that we should have the process of onboarding in the HR strategy. So from the time the employee reports, then you need to replicate that into kind of a checklist.
Mm-hmm.
So the employee is coming in today. So what will happen? Who is this person going to meet? The IT people. Who is that person in IT? You put the name. If it's who will take them round and introduce them to the kitchen, to the toilets, to the people, to the whole office.
Mm.
You
Mm-hmm.
put the name. So who is giving the general overview of the organization? When are they meeting the executive? You have already made those appointments.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have this checklist to the end, so the HR person, when the person comes in, you are able to avail this checklist to this guy, to this person. And you take them through, you tell them, this is what will happen to you in this number of days. It depends. It could be 1 day, it could be 2 days, it could be 3 days. So in your first 3 days, this is what you will be happening to you. This you will, this HR person will take you around and introduce you around. This is the IT guy who will see you at this time to come and give you your laptop and to configure it for you and take you through the IT orientation. Then this is the finance person who will tell you uh, about the finances. If it's an organization like ours that involves travel, things concerning per diems and all that, you will learn. This is the admin who arranges travel. So they will talk to you how you will be booking your travel. This is the procurement person who will talk to you about should you want to procure anything. They will tell you how you will go about it. So by the time this person is leaving, let me call it the operations team. You see, the operations help manage or help navigate the other teams in in movement in the organization and making sure that they are the kind of the tie, the knots that knit the organization together. Because then, Tony, when you are in your office, in your risk management office, and you want things done, you need to know, oh, I need to purchase ABCD. You need to know what to do. Oh, I need to travel to our office in the next town. I need to know how to go about that. And this person needs to know all these things before they go to the field. So if you have that checklist, and then every time they meet that person, that checklist is ticked. And should at the end of that whole process, that checklist comes back to HR to ensure everything has happened. And what has not happened, then HR goes back and follows through to ensure that that happens. In that checklist is where this person needs to meet the executive, and there could be many. There's the head of the organization. There are all these people who are the top people,
Yes.
and that's where you engage them. So you have an appointment with the executive director, you have the appointment with the second director, with the third director, and you can imagine these directors also have what they are doing in the organization. So they're able to also just let the staff know what their role is in the organization and how they fit in as far as this person is concerned. So that checklist is a good practice. So let it not have in mind, oh, by the way, did Augustine meet Zippy? Augustine, did you meet Zippy? That is 3 months down the line. Oh, by the
Yeah.
way, you are supposed to meet Zippy. So when you have it organized like that in a checklist form, then you find, that person wants to work in that place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what I call orientation. But then now onboarding is even after this process, there's also the onboarding in the job. And that's where the body comes in. So once we are in the operations, we are done with this person. And now we are sending them to risk management, to Augustine. So we have Augustine there who will take this person to the team, introduced to the team. They have meetings. This is what they do. And then they share where they have come from, where they are at, and what are the expectations. So that process cannot take less than 90 days, to tell you the truth. By the time the probation period is ending, for me, that's an onboarding situation. Because even when someone starts working and they have targets for the 90 days for the probation, there'll still be a lot of checking in to check, how am I doing, am I having it right? And that is when you are weighing. He's weighing the organization is weighing, because at the end of the probation, that's when you get to know, was it a mismatch? Was it a good hire? Can we clap for HR for giving us a very good person? Or is this person someone we want to disengage after the probation period? And then even this person is weighing the organization. So HR has done all these flowery things. The ops team have been good. Then they have gone to the field, and then they think, there's a disconnect between HR and the manager. And yeah, because then this nice experience I received, it's not happening down here. That's why a buddy is important, because then, and because it's a culture that is already there, the most important thing is to work with that staff until they're integrated completely, until now they are confirmed. And when they are confirmed, they really feel they belong. That's what I wanted to add about best practice. Thank you.
Wow. We have had some serious ideas on best practices there, from Martha and from Zippy. Augustus, HR has done their part. Sorry for that. There is a theory and there is a practice. You're the business executive, and people have walked in. You have been given somebody, and here they are. They have walked in, and from your experience, what is from a practical level as an executive, what would you say is the best practice that you could be able to follow, or is what the HR experts say here too theoretical?
Thank you for the contribution made by the HR experts in the house. But I think from my experience, my practical experience in organizations that I've worked and are even currently working, sometimes you find what the Martha and Zipporah are talking is the ideal situation, but it's not really what happens. It's not, I'm listening to them, I'm thinking that's a perfect, ideal situation, how it should happen. But a lot of times you find the HR and the other part of management and departments and operations, they are totally pulling different direction. Actually, to put it right into its place, is the role of HR is not recognized in all this. As an once they interview and hire, in fact, one organization I worked in, the first time I interacted, the first and the last time I interacted with HR was when I was signing the offer, and given the letter, and told the day to report. Then I reported. Then I was shown around. The next time we interacted with the HR is when we received the pay slip, and you've been thrown to the departments and not the organization currently I'm working on, previously where I was. And you find when you walk into that department, they know they are hard tasks, and you are thrown into those tasks the first day, and you don't even get to see what Mother is describing, director 1, director 2. I think it took like 6 months before I met the CEO, and not meeting them is just, seeing them walking across the corridor, and all that is the CEO. And as Zippy was saying, there's no standard, because there are people who are, depending on your level, there are people who will meet the CEO, there are others who don't meet the CEO. You meet your line manager and all that. So for me, practically, first, I think the organization must accept and recognize the role of HR in the whole onboarding process as the guiding, because that is the area of expertise. The departments just work. The departments just know the work and delivery. And we needed someone so bad, so you have come in, hit the ground running. We want to see, but I used to, maybe it's because of my background in HR, a lot of staff who come under me and I've been able to train. There's one currently I've trained. She was not an insurance person. She had done procurement, something totally different. And she was brought in now in the main risk area and all that. I trained her, I took her through, I trained her what is insurance, all these things, what you're supposed to do. And I told her, I know you have papers and you have skills and you have the knowledge, but I will start you with the light jobs. We start you with the light jobs, with the routine, the jobs that you can even, you don't need to consult every day, for a period of time. And she performed very well. And now where she's handling key accounts where I took her, slowly orienting her into more challenging, and tough tasks. Like we are very heavy on customer service, and because of our nature of our profession, so currently she's handling big corporate accounts where currently I was getting a lot of complaints. Now I don't even get complaints from those people even don't call me, because there's someone who is as fitted well, as fitted into the role. She's a gatekeeper to me. I'm not getting calls. I'm not getting, this is not done. In fact, the last time we went for a meeting, they were like, you guys, you and your subordinate, you've done a very perfect job. And I was like, it's all about her. And the training and the orientation I've given her in the job. And she has come to like, though she was not an insurance person, but insurance can be boring, and she has inculcated herself into it, and she likes it, and she has dreams and vision and goals of what she wants to do. She wants to do those, land and papers for insurance and all that. So I think for me, the best practice, what I've seen on the ground is not the ideal situation in many organizations. I think because there's need to replace, there's need to hire. So immediately those people come, candidates, they are hired by HR. The HR, you have finished your job, wait until, you interact them at the pay point, at the end of the month, or when there's an issue forwarded to you, and there's no feedback, there's no follow-up from HR to ensure. And I think that is an organizational culture whereby the HR is not led to play a central role in the whole onboarding process. Like Mother said, it stretches all the way to decide the end of the probationary period. And therefore, so preparation and support. The new hires have to be told, they have to be oriented into the job. They have to be prepared. They have to be, you don't expect, though they may have all the papers in this world, but you do not expect that they will outperform in that job the first day or the second day. So there are chances. They should be allowed to make mistakes. They should be allowed to make errors. And this is a departmental responsibility, So the department must avoid, the pressure of she's come, she must deliver, we've been overwhelmed. So everything is thrown to her. You know how we do it. The new hires, you are given everything. And I've seen tendencies where I've worked and where I'm working, the other staff receive calls and they say, hey, call so and so. Them, they are tired already. So they are tired. They've been doing the same job. They are tired. Customers are calling. So they start giving the new hires. And even if you are not careful, the new hire is going to be allocated duties by somebody at the same level, because when you are new, you want to do everything, so some people, we find some other colleagues will bring their files. Yeah, even these ones do, even these ones. So at some point, like this example I was giving of this lady, I had to tell her, you can only get any instruction from me. Any instruction coming from anywhere else, let them pass, refer them to me. Because we had those tendencies of you are new hire. So the people at the same level, they have backlogs. So they will sneak their backlog to you. And because you are new, you even don't know who they are. So there has to be that this is so and so, this is their role, your role is this, you report specifically to this person. Otherwise, you'll find this new hire is getting instruction left, center. She is handling people's backlogs. She's even overwhelmed and thinking, how does this place work? So for me, preparation and also support from the line managers, and also to guide them to navigate through, when you are new hire in a company, you are not even sure whether you are going to perform. You know, in interviews, we say a lot of things. We project ourselves as, we talk of achievements we've achieved. Sijoi, we are able to turn around. And then, you are given the job, you are not sure whether will I perform in this organization? Will I do the job? Will I perform? So they must be helped to settle and supported to outperform. I think the goal of any company organization is not to hire and then dismiss people at the probationary period or extend. The
Correct.
goal and what they would like most, because there's a cost they have incurred. The goal is to have everyone perform and to have everyone fit in, not to have to, people come in and you cannot, we start extending their probation, we start even, terminating their probation, or we are not clear. Sometimes even the probation period ends and there's no communication as to whether it has been extended, whether it
Yeah.
is terminated. You don't know where you are. So that has to be taken care. So for me, best practice, preparation, and support.
Wow, wow, wow. Augustus, you have given us the real life. Anyone listening to us today, if you're listening to us today, I'm sure most of you can be able to uh, experience what Augustus has described. Because really, Augustus, as he was describing it, I was just nodding my head and smiling. I could see Martha and Zippy also just laughing and smiling because really that's what happens in the workplace. Yeah, you enter, yes, you've been told, yeah, this is that, this is your line manager, this is what, you've been given your email, what, okay, probably the company is organized, they've given you a desk, a chair, a laptop, a desktop, whatever. Yeah, these the reporting lines, blah. But then, if you are working in a sizable organization, you have people who you are like your peers, you have come to compliment.
Yes.
So, mtu anaangalia boss, looks at you, decide, where, deal with this file. And this somebody is delegating sideways. They're
Yes.
delegating sideways. Yeah, they're delegating sideways because this is their peer. And they're telling the boy, you're supposed to do this. So if the line manager is not aware and clear about how you're supposed to work, I've been there. I've been there. Somebody comes and tells me, hey, Tony, this one you're supposed to do. This one, by the way, you need to finish at 5. Okay? So I have already been given what I'm needed to do. And as I'm working on what I'm needed to do, I go to my boss and I was told, so and so told me that I'm also supposed to do this. Then you find the line boss calling, where? Come here. Who told you to delegate to Tony? That's not your job. We all go through this. And it tells you a lot
Yes.
about company culture, about how do you orientate somebody into the workplace, how are things figured, and if a company is sharp and agile in the way it deliberately fosters its culture, then you're able to flow. And I like that example, Augustus, you gave. That you also brought a very powerful example of if the line manager, if the person who is onboarding the new employee consciously does it and handholds that person, the way Martha was talking about a buddy, somebody who helps handhold that person into the office, you can even produce very good results. Results, even train somebody who probably came into a task, they are not very sure whether they're going to achieve anything on it, yet they believe they could. Yet, by having a good buddy, somebody to handhold that person into the place, a gentle, landing, soft landing, and all that, you'll find that you're going to produce an exceptional performer in your workplace. Our time is really gone. Our discussions were so sweet until the time that we're supposed to work with has surpassed. But I've enjoyed it. I believe our viewers have also enjoyed it. And what I would like to say to our viewers, if you're out there and you're struggling how to figure out all these challenges, you're there, you're running your company, you're wondering, why do I lose people? People come and leave. And you've had Augustus and Martha and Zippy talking and thinking, that is it. That is where the problem is. Get in touch with us here at Aurum Consultants. Our contacts are at the bottom of the screen through our website, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Get in touch with us. If you'd like to know more about our panelists, Mr. Kyoko, you'd like to understand more about probably insurance background, Madam Martha, the HR specialist, you'd like to know more about the experience she's had, you can also get in touch with us. We would love to connect you with them. But we've come to the end of our podcast today, guys. It felt like so nice, man. Martha, how did you like it? Eh? You're on a roll, Zippy. This is it. The 49 minutes have passed by like it was just 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Agonius. Thank you for those practical insights. Those practical
Yes.
insights of what really happens. And I like the fact that you've said HR is not often brought in, is not often
Mm.
involved into this process. I could give you my own experiences. One place I worked, the moment HR gave me the letters and everything, I went to where I was working. The next time I'm seeing HR is Tony, your probation is successful, and that is it. The next week is you need to be transferred to another place.
Mm.
And I can assure you, I never met the CEO, I never met the head of department, I never met those people you're talking about. I used to see them on TV or on the newspapers, and we are working in the same company. Anyway, we can go on and on and on. But I want to appreciate our viewers, our listeners. Thank you for taking your Saturday off this morning to
Yes.
come and listen
Mm.
to us. Thank you, Augustus, for coming in. Thank you,
Yeah.
Martha, for coming in. We really appreciate you. We appreciate our viewers. We thank you for taking time to join us. Next week, we are still going to discuss the issues of employee experience from a different perspective. And we would like you to come and join us. Send in your questions through the contacts that you've given you. And we will incorporate them, your views and your suggestions and your questions, we'll incorporate them into our podcast. But with those few remarks, thank you for joining us. God bless you. See you next week, same time, same place.
Thank you.